Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to thank the organizers. It's really quite an honor to be able to address this crowd. This is a fantastic podium. Good call. And I also just wanted to say, in my career, I've spent much more time hiking up mountains, banging on rocks, looking for new mineral deposits than I have addressing groups such as this. So I hope you'll bear with me. First order of business is to figure out how we advance this. All right, here we go. El Dorado has lots of lawyers. They all want to get their bit into this. I don't know that there's a single person in this room that could read all that. Fairly sure what it says is don't trust a word I say. So with that in mind, in thinking a little bit about the title of this panel discussion, I wanted to present some challenges that we face as explorationists, but I thought it useful to broaden those challenges out to exploration in a more general sense. So what are the really fundamental issues that we need to address and that we need to do well in order to give ourselves the best possible chance at discovery? The first one, obviously, is prospective geology. If we're working and we're putting our effort into a place that just doesn't have a lot of decent, large-scale mineral deposits, we can't find them. Now, of course, knowing where is prospective and where is less prospective is an art in and of itself. Put more than 2 geologists together, give them a beer or 2, and you'll be in for a long evening. That being said, personally, I'm very comfortable that here in Serbia, we have excellent prospective geology. I'll show a map next that backs that up, but I think we'd all agree on that point. Second, community support. There will be a lot more talk about this later in the day, but at El Dorado, we understand that having solid relationships with the communities in which we operate is absolutely critical, and that it's our responsibility to put the effort in to create that. Again, bringing that back to Serbia, so far our experience has been fantastic. Government support, I suspect there'll be a lot more discussion about this later in the day, but speaking in broad terms, secure and transparent land tenure system. This is something that's absolutely critical. We can't enter into a new jurisdiction without this. I'm happy that here in Serbia we have that. A workable permitting system. I need to be able to get on and do my job. I need to be able to put drills on the property. I need to be able to get out and do geophysics, do geochemistry, all the good things we do, and that needs to happen in a timely way. For us here in Serbia, that has happened. And of course, should we be successful, a fair and transparent taxation and royalty system. Personally, in exploration, I don't often get the chance to worry about that part. So finally, and we all know this, exploration is a risky business. We test, if we're lucky, hundreds of targets. If we're unlucky, thousands of targets before we have success. A large part of giving ourselves a better chance at that success is the ability to test those targets quickly and efficiently and move on when it's been shown that the target isn't there. So we have to have access to many new ideas, many different targets. These may be on the same property that you worked on last year, but it needs to be a new idea. And we need to be able to get on with it and do the work and test the idea. Again, bringing it back to Serbia, El Dorado's been very successful in doing that. All right, very quickly, here in the Tethyan, what is El Dorado's footprint? We're incredibly lucky. We have a lot of deposits in these rocks. From Kışladağ, a very large gold porphyry in Turkey, FM Çukur, an intermediate sulfidation, high-grade underground deposit also in Turkey. A number of fantastic deposits that we are working on getting into production in Greece. And moving up to Romania, we have Certej. So we're very familiar with this belt of rocks. Until recently, we hadn't operated in Serbia, and we were unfamiliar with Serbia, but it wasn't a great leap for us to come to the understanding that this would be a good place for us to be. Very quickly, we entered Serbia in 2015 through an option deal with Euromax. completed a very short drill program on the property in question, KMC. In 2016 was our first significant year here. We drilled over 19,000 meters at KMC. We made a couple of fairly significant discoveries. We've also began applying for new licenses elsewhere in the country. So 2016 was our first year where we really got to it and rolled up our sleeves and started to work, and we were very successful. This year we've continued. We plan to drill very similar to last year, about 20,000 meters. We continue doing the surface work on our new projects, developing new ideas. We also are very open to reviewing projects held by other groups. So I'll unashamedly throw it out there. If you've got a good gold project that you're not sure how best to advance it, come talk to us. Oh, I'll also make the point, through our activities around our projects, primarily out of Raška, but also in other parts of Serbia, we now employ 124 people. Given that this is still really very early stage exploration, there is a very solid positive impact on the communities that we operate in. Okay, just very quickly about the KMC project itself. When we arrived, it was a very data-rich environment. There had been more than 30,000 meters of drilling. There was a number of different geophysical surveys. There was lots of surface geochem, and there was lots and lots of data. One of the first things that we felt we needed to do is really understand that, really sink our teeth into how can we come up with some ideas that were different or new, different than the previous geologists. This is not to say they didn't have good ideas, but we needed to review the data, get into it, understand it for ourselves. So we pulled out all 30,000 meters and relogged all that drill core. We did TerraSpec analysis every meter down all that drill core. We took all of the geophysics and we modeled it in 3D. We put all that thinking together and came up with our own ideas as to what portions of the project were prospective. Very quickly at the project, brief overview of the geology on the left there. What's important here is there's a series of limestones which host skarn deposits. They're covered by volcanics. Now these volcanics are altered. We can look, we can see alteration, but they're very rarely mineralized. So to a large degree, we're dealing with exploration undercover. One of the tools we found very useful is magnetics. This is a magnetic map on the right. It shows the skarn mineralization, which contains a lot of magnetite, very clearly. As you can see, there's a number of other anomalies elsewhere on the project. So I'll just focus in on Shanats. It's our most important discovery to date. And this is the situation when we got there. There was some drilling. There was some very altered volcanics. The previous operators had understood this. They had tested it. They had got some long intercepts of modest grades. You know, these grades at that depth aren't going to make a mine, but they're certainly very interesting. We also were very interested in the size of the footprint of the alteration. There was a number of features telling us that there may be more here than just what had been drilled to date. We then added in the 3D model of the magnetics. Now this was the previous data, but we had rehashed it and put it into a 3D model. And this is a fantastic bullseye anomaly. It's very hard to ignore. Something real is causing this. Of course, we didn't know what. It could still be a magnetic intrusion. Could have nothing to do with mineralization. But it wasn't hard to make the decision to put first one and then quite a number of holes into it. And we were rewarded with this. This is magnetite skarn. There are some long intercepts of excellent grade here. Intercepts such as 100 meters of 1.4 grams, 60 meters of 2.3, 130 of 1.5. What's interesting is the mineralization here is very consistent. When you look down an assay sheet, it feels much more like a porphyry deposit than a typical skarn deposit. We went back and did a fair bit more drilling this year, mostly around the margins to close it off, and we will be coming out with a resource later this year. Unfortunately, and before anybody in the room gets too excited about this one, it is under a fair bit of cover. It will be a difficult one. Okay, just to very quickly, KMC is a fantastic project in that it's not just one target. There is the name, I should have mentioned Caravansalia Mineralized Center. It's an excellent name because it really focuses your thinking around this is not one zone. This is a number of zones. There's a lot to do here. So we're drilling right now at some of these other targets to the northwest. And then regionally, what are we doing? We've applied for new licenses, we're doing the surface work, we're getting out there, we're doing all the right things. We don't know if this will generate discovery, but what we do know is that if we continue doing this work year after year, we will be successful. These are the right things to do. And in terms of Eldorado's plans here, we're very comfortable here in Serbia. With or without success this year or next year, we do plan to be here for the next number of years, and we plan to allocate significant parts of our global budget to our efforts here in Serbia. Thank you.